Hello everybody and welcome back again. My name is Steven and welcome back to the PBE Rundown. This is the show where we cover everything that is in the patches from the current PBE rounds. So, as you guys should know, it is the PBE round of Illaoi, the newest and greatest champion. Well, it's not really greatest, but a new champion that is hitting the League of Legends, who's the ruler of the Kraken of the sea, which is a pretty interesting theme in my opinion. So, who is Illaoi? I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. Illaoi. I'm not too sure though. Anyway, Illaoi is a new top laner for everybody to enjoy, which is actually pretty cool. She is a very interesting, she's like a Zia and Veigar and that type, being very zone control type of a champion, because you do not want to go near her tentacles, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on when I start talking about her abilities. So, first things first, let's cover her skin. Her skin is the Void Bringer. It basically turns her fantasy from a Belgewardian, would that be a word? Belgewardian champion that is all about the Kraken, all the way to a Void Bringer that is bringing these random void-like tentacles, which are actually very close to the likes of Vel'Koz, which is quite interesting. So she's the bringer of Vel'Koz, I guess. And the head, the little ball thing she holds, looks a bit like, in my opinion, it looks like, what's the champion? Oh, damn. The one that came out last year, the Rek'Sai, that was it. It looks like Rek'Sai's head she's holding, which is quite interesting. Now, what about the actual abilities? Well, let's start off with the passive. Illaoi's passive is called Prophet of the Elder God. Illaoi draws the presence of their god, spawning tentacle on a nearby impossible terrain if no other tentacle is nearby for 20 seconds. Tentacles interact with Illaoi's abilities and last until killed, or if dormant, for 1 minute. So that basically means any walls that you cannot go through with the likes of flashes, well not flash, dashes, just those types of abilities. So that's like the wall next to, not the actual dragon pit, but the wall next to it, you can't actually dash through it because it's too thick. And that means these tentacles will actually spawn on those types of walls, which is quite cool. All the ones around the edge of the map, because you can't dash out the map. That's a bit silly, if you could. But those types of walls and stuff is where the tentacles place. And where it says that it interacts with abilities, I'll be talking about them just in a few seconds when I start talking about the likes of Q, W, E, and R. And the tentacles are dormant, are killed if they are killed off, because they can, if you hit them twice, they die. Or if they're dormant for 1 minute, so that basically means you don't use them for a minute. So they're just sitting there, not interacting with any abilities or doing anything. So first things first, her Q. This is basically her bread and butter ability. This is basically your main ability which you'll be using, and it's called Tentacle Smash. So the passive is Illaoi is healed for 5% of a missing health whenever a tentacle damages a champion. The active is when Illaoi smashes down a tentacle, dealing 10 plus then percentage damage. So this is at level 1, she gets plus 72, just based on things. Physical damage. So basically this ability is when you activate it, she jumps up, slams down the tentacle, and that's the ability. Now, if there's any other tentacles around, the tentacles will also come down and smash whoever you're trying to hit, which is quite interesting. Well, they all do it in the same, if they're in the right area. If they're out of the range, they're not going to come, obviously they're not going to smash. But it's quite interesting how this ability works, and especially with the passive, it basically allows her to become a very tanky and durable tank in the late game if she's able to set up these tentacles in an area, because once she starts activating all of her abilities and things, and all of these tentacles are slapping people and stuff, she's going to be recovering a lot of health. And especially some gameplay I've seen of her on the PBE, she's just stood there just smacking people with these tentacles and not dying because of the 5% of her missing health regeneration is fucking stupid. The next ability is a W. This is called Harsh Lesson. For the next basic attack, Illaoi leaps to her target, dealing 15 plus their physical damage when she strikes. Nearby tentacles also swing at the target. So this is basically when I was talking about the Q where it slams down. All the other tentacles around you, or just in the right area, will actually also slap whoever you're trying to kill. So if you like jump over to a their AD carry while their support is next to them, the tentacles will not go for the support, it will go for the AD carry. But they do not move position. You know, they would, once they've done they've chosen where they're going to hit, they will hit that place. So they're actually quite easy to dodge from what I've seen. But the idea is that once these things do hit, they hit like a freaking truck. They are a very strong ability, and especially the fact that they give you 5% missing health if they hit a target. You could theoretically get 3 times the 5, so that's going to give you 15%. Well, it'll be 5% 3 times, so it would actually go down in value, but yeah. The next ability is her E. Her E is called Test of Spirit. Illaoi rips the spirit from their foe's body, forcing it to stand before her so she can teach them a lesson, as what it's said on the thing. So basically, Illaoi calls on the power of her god to pull the spirit from an enemy champion for 10 seconds. The spirit can be attacked by Illaoi and her allies and echoes 25% plus a percentage of the damage it takes to the target. If the spirit dies or the target leaves its range, the target will become a vessel. Vessels spawn a tentacle every 10 seconds for 1 minute and have their movement speed slowed by 80%, decaying over 2 seconds. Tentacles swing at the spirit and vessels, dealing 10 plus a percentage of the damage in physical damage. That is really strong. So think about it, if you just got away from an Illaoi and she's ripped out your spirit and stuff, prepare to die, because you are not going to get a nice free trip home, because these tentacles are going to be spawning fucking everywhere, and the fact that it lasts for a minute is ridiculous. So you're going to have these tentacles non-stop trying to kill your ass, even though Illaoi or any of her allies are nowhere near you. It is really, really strong, this ability. And I've seen some gameplays of this happening where an enemy got away. However, because they were a vessel, as they're called, once they got back to the base, a tentacle spawned, slapped them, killed them outright. So it is a very strong ability. And it's going to be interesting to see how people are going to play around with this ability, because I think this is going to be the more annoying ability out of all of them. Next up is her R, Leap of Faith. Illaoi smashes her idol into the ground, dealing 150 plus a set amount of damage, based on your AD, in physical damage to nearby enemies. A tentacle spawns for each enemy hit, and for the next 8 seconds, tentacles swing 50% faster, they are untargetable, and Harsh Lesson has a 2-second cooldown. So Harsh Lesson was a W. So basically, this means that if you've got a good area, and let's say you're fighting in one of the allies in the jungle, and you are able to hit 5 people, 5 tentacles plus any tentacles you have on the wall, non-stop slapping people, when you've hit your W, you will have about, let's say, 6 or 7 of these tentacles slapping down, and they do redonkulous amounts of damage. So think back to the W's damage and the tentacles damage and things like that. It is really strong. This ability basically turns any pathway in the jungle to just a slaughterhouse. And this could even happen in lane. If they're stupid and for some reason they all clump together and they're just like surrounding you and stuff, this damage will be flipping out the roof how much ability strength this has. And I can just see so many people getting so much use out of this ability, and I don't want to even imagine the flipping team fights that's going to happen with this. But that is all of Illaoi's abilities. really, really strong when you think about it. Illaoi is going to be a definitely zone control based champion, because if I'm an enemy against her, I do not want to walk near one of their tentacles at all. So if she's able to get these tentacles into areas where she doesn't want the enemy to be, yeah, that's going to be really, really good for her. So I can see her working in comps that like a lot of zone control, since this is also another zone control based thing. So this is going to be very scary in special team comps, but overall her laning and stuff like that is not going to be all that strong, since she needs time to set up these tentacles and stuff. But she's definitely going to be a lot more prowess in the jungle, not as a jungler, but more of a team fighting in the jungle, more so. But other than that, that has been Illaoi. Illaoi is going to be a very fun champion. So, as always, guys, remember to do the normal YouTubey stuff, and remember to check back tomorrow or the following day whenever I post the next PBE Rundown, and in that one, I will most likely be covering some other stuff within the PBE patches. As of right now, I have probably no idea, but that's for the next video, for you guys to find out. So, hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, everyone, bye!